Imagine logging onto your phone. You're trying to process the the absolute worst moment of your entire life.
Right, the kind of grief you can't even put into words.
Exactly. You are grieving the tragic, violent, incredibly sudden loss of your husband. You're navigating police reports. You're dealing with funeral arrangements and just the sheer physical weight of the shock.
Yeah, the everyday nightmare stuff.
Right. And then you open a social media app, just out of habit maybe, only to find out that millions of strangers have collectively decided that you aren't a grieving widow at all.
Wow.
Yeah. They've decided you are actually this, political supervillain who orchestrated his murder in some secret plot to take over the country.
It is a completely dizzying, terrifying phenomenon to even witness, let alone to actually experience. I mean, you're suddenly no longer a human being, you know?
Yeah.
You're just a character in a script written by a massive anonymous crowd.
Today, we're looking at a reality that feels, honestly, incredibly dystopian, but is happening right now. The internet has basically decided that real human tragedy, genuine trauma, and actual horrific crimes are just another television show.
Yeah, just content to be consumed.
Right. We are going to unpack how the line between real life and manufactured entertainment has completely evaporated.
And we really have a fascinating array of raw material to sift through to understand this today. We're looking at the mechanics of this whole ecosystem from multiple angles.
Right. We are pulling from a really wide stack for this deep dive. We've got fact-checking reports from the Hindustan Times and Jubilee Cast mapping out these wild viral conspiracies.
The conspiracy stuff is wild, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And we've also got detailed reality TV encyclopedias and wikis tracking the absolute juggernaut that is Hulu's The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Plus, we're pulling from viral YouTube transcripts, specifically this crazy Inside Edition interview with a woman who literally serialized her trauma for millions.
Which is a whole separate phenomenon we'll get into.
Definitely. And finally, we are diving deep into Reddit threads, where these, armchair detectives dissect the shifting tides of influencer drama.
So it's basically a comprehensive look at the life cycle of a modern digital spectacle. You know, from the fabrication of an event right through to the self-publication of trauma, to the industrialization of those stories by major studios, and finally, the meta layer of the commentators who consume it all.
Now, before we jump into the actual mechanics of all this, we really need to address something right off the bat.
Yeah, important disclaimer here.
We are going to be talking about some highly polarizing, politically charged figures today. We're talking about names like U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, the late Charlie Kirk, and Donald Trump.
Right.
We are purely looking at these people as the raw material the internet uses to build its narratives. Our goal here is absolutely not to endorse, validate, or condemn any political viewpoints or figures.
Exactly. We are essentially acting as media ecologists. Whether the figures involved lean left, right, or center is totally irrelevant to the mechanics of the attention economy. I mean, the algorithm doesn't care about ideology at all. It just cares about engagement.
Exactly. We are strictly analyzing how the digital world weaponizes these names to create soap operas.
So let's start with that terrifying scenario you mentioned at the top.
Yeah.
We're looking at what happens when a devastating real-life crime is dragged into this digital content mill.
Right. In September 2025, Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, was fatally shot at Utah Valley University.
And the baseline facts of this event, drawing from that Hindustan Times reporting, are just stark and grim. He was killed by a 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson.
And the legal reality of this is currently unfolding in a very real, very tense courtroom as we speak. Tyler Robinson confessed to the shooting via Discord chats and, text messages to his family.
Which is horrifying on its own.
It really is. And think about the tragedy of this. It was actually Robinson's own father who turned him in to the police. So Robinson is now facing court proceedings with Judge Tony Graff.
Right. And there is actual consequential procedural drama happening in that real-world courtroom. I mean, Robinson's defense attorneys are actively trying to disqualify a prosecutor because that prosecutor's son was reportedly present at the university during the shooting.
Oh, wow. So it's incredibly close to home for the legal team, too.
Exactly. It's a complex, highly emotional legal situation with massive implications for literally everyone involved.
It's heavy. A man was murdered, a young man threw his life away, entire families are destroyed. But the internet looks at this brutal, cold reality and decides, well, it just isn't entertaining enough.
Right. Or maybe they just think it's not sensational enough.
Yeah, so the digital ecosystem literally manufactured a rumor just to spice it up.
A rumor that originated from a TikTok account called Bull's Nose News. Now, it is crucial to understand that this account is explicitly a satire page.
Right, they manufacture fake news for engagement. That's their whole brand.
Exactly. They posted a video claiming that Charlie Kirk's last will and testament had been read, and he had completely cut his widow, Erica Kirk, out of his will.
And the reason they gave for this fake disinheritance? An alleged affair with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance.
Now, fact-checkers like Jubilee Cast and Lead Stories descended on this immediately and just completely debunked it. There is zero credible reporting that a will was even read or changed in any way.
Not at all.
Right. And the entire evidence of this supposed affair was just a brief, totally public moment where Erica Kirk greeted J.D. Vance with a hug at an event back in October 2025. That was literally it, a standard, polite, social greeting.
And yet, this TikTok video gained hundreds of thousands of views and sparked a massive, massive conspiracy theory.
Which then completely blew up on Reddit.
Right, we dove into the Orly/Scandal subreddit to track this. And for context, Scandal was this massive, highly dramatic ABC television show created by Shonda Rhimes. It was famous for, plots involving political assassinations, secret affairs, and backroom power grabs in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, very soapy, very dramatic.
Exactly. And the users on this forum didn't just discuss the rumor, they started literally mapping the real-life Erica Kirk onto a fictional character from the show named Luna Vargas.
And Luna Vargas, in the context of Scandal, was a character who orchestrated her own husband's assassination to seize political power.
Which is insane to project onto a real grieving widow.
The sheer cognitive dissonance required to look at a real woman and overlay a soapy television plot onto her life is just staggering.
Let me read you a breakdown from one user, Historical Agent 9426. They crafted this elaborate multi-paragraph theory. They speculated that Erica was bored playing the role of an overeducated trad wife.
A trad wife.
Yeah. And they theorized that J.D. Vance wanted to inherit the Magier cult from Donald Trump. So according to this user, Vance and Erica hatched this Machiavellian plot to assassinate Charlie Kirk, plan what the user called America's wedding, and have America's baby to secure total political dominance.
They even dragged J.D. Vance's real-life wife, Ursha, into the fanfiction.
They really did.
They compared Usha to Melly Grant, who is another character from Scandal, and suggested Usha was pulling a stay baby move, getting pregnant or using a child to block the impending divorce and ruin Erica's supposed master plan.
Okay, hold on. I have to challenge the premise of this entire behavior. We're talking about cognitive dissonance, but I honestly think that gives people way too much credit.
You think it's more intentional?
Yeah, I mean, are people really doing this as some sort of subconscious coping mechanism, or is this just pure, unadulterated malice? These are real people with children. A real man was shot to death. Why is the internet so comfortable treating real political figures like characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
It's a totally fair pushback, and there is undoubtedly an element of malicious trolling in there. But if you look at the mechanics of digital behavior, it really is deeply tied to psychological detachment and gamification.
Detachment? How so?
Well, the digital interface acts as a literal buffer between the user and reality. When you read about a horrific shooting, the physical reality of gun violence, the absolute finality of death, the visceral, ugly grief of a widow, it's terrifying.
Right. It's heavy and dark.
Yeah. It reminds us of our own mortality, the chaos of the real world, and our ultimate lack of control.
So you're saying that by turning it into an episode of Scandal, they aren't just mocking her, they are actually protecting themselves from the horror of the actual event.
Exactly. Subconsciously, the public transforms the chaotic horror into a digestible, structured puzzle.
Oh, wow.
By turning real grief into a political thriller, complete with plotting villains, secret affairs, and power grabs, you regain a sense of control over the narrative. It becomes a game of Clue, basically.
Yeah.
You aren't mourning a tragedy anymore, you're solving a mystery.
That makes a disturbing amount of sense.
Right. The people involved cease to be flesh and blood human beings.
Yeah.
They just become avatars in a storyline that you are consuming for entertainment.
Avatars in a storyline.
Yeah.
That is incredibly chilling. It strips the humanity away entirely so the audience doesn't have to feel the pain. It's like looking at a car crash but pretending it's a movie set so you don't have to think about the actual people trapped inside.
That's a perfect analogy.
But here is where the mechanics of the internet get even more complicated. Because while people like Erica Kirk have these fictional avatars projected onto them completely against their will, there is a massive wave of individuals who are doing the exact opposite.
Right. What happens when the individual actively chooses to turn themselves into the avatar?
Yes, what happens when everyday people understand this exact dynamic, that the internet wants a soap opera and they use their smartphones to intentionally turn their own real lives and their own real trauma into a public, serialized drama?
This phenomenon of the self-published soap opera is perhaps best exemplified by the story of Teresa Johnson, known to the internet as Risa.
Oh man, if you've been anywhere near TikTok recently, you know this story. But the mechanics behind its success are what we really need to dissect here. We pulled the transcript from a recent Inside Edition interview with Teresa to dig into this.
Yeah, her approach was revolutionary.
It really was. She created a TikTok video series titled Who TF Did I Marry? But this wasn't just a quick, 3-minute story time where she sat in her car and complained about an ex. This was a 50-part series.
50 individual videos.
50, detailing her disastrous marriage to a man she claims was a total pathological liar.
Let's just establish the baseline facts she presented to her audience. She met this man on a dating site in 2020. And because of the pandemic lockdowns, they ended up spending that incredibly isolated time together in her Atlanta home.
Right, a pressure cooker situation.
Exactly. They married in January 2021. And by her own admission, by January 31st, just weeks into the marriage, she knew she was in deep, terrifying trouble.
The lies she uncovered were monumental. I mean, he claimed to have played football at San Diego State. He claimed to have played arena football. He told her he worked at Apple. He was supposedly in the process of buying them a house to start a family.
Just a massive web of deception.
Yeah, and when she finally kicked him out and filed for divorce, the full crushing extent of the deception unraveled. And she took this deeply personal devastation and posted it online. The result? An astonishing 400 million views.
400 million. To put that staggering number in perspective, a highly successful primetime network television show might pull in 10 to 15 million viewers an episode.
That's wild when you compare them like that.
It really is. Teresa completely bypassed traditional media gatekeepers and achieved audience numbers that Hollywood executives would literally sacrifice their careers for.
And she didn't need a casting director. She didn't need to pitch a pilot to a network. She didn't need a production crew, no lighting, no makeup team. She didn't have a marketing budget. She just needed her smartphone, a ring light, and a deeply traumatic personal story.
The barrier to entry is basically zero.
But I want to dig into the how of this. Why did 400 million people watch this specific story? Because, people post about their bad exes all the time.
The secret really lies in the mechanics of the TikTok algorithm and her innate understanding of digital pacing. Breaking a story into 50 parts is an absolute masterclass in algorithmic hijacking.
Algorithmic hijacking, I like that.
Yeah, because TikTok rewards watch time and engagement. When a creator utilizes the playlist feature and breaks a narrative into bite-sized sequential chunks, it creates an episodic, serialized viewing experience.
It hooks the viewer's psychological need for closure. You watch part 1, he tells a lie about San Diego State. You just have to know she catches him, so you swipe to part 2. Then part 3 introduces the fake house. It's a dopamine loop.
It's exactly. Furthermore, TikTok's creator fund and monetization structures heavily favor videos that are over 1 minute long and keep viewers on the platform. By stretching her trauma across 50 videos, she wasn't just telling a story. She was optimizing her personal disaster for maximum algorithmic distribution and financial return.
Wow.
It is highly reminiscent of the serialized novels of the 19th century.
Oh, like Charles Dickens. Dickens used to publish Great Expectations and the Pickwick Papers chapter by chapter in magazines. People would literally line the docks in New York waiting for the British ships to arrive with the next installment.
Yes, exactly.
It was the original binge-watching. Risa did the modern-day Dickens serial, but instead of Victorian fiction, the product is monetized personal trauma.
It is the exact same psychological mechanism. But the currency isn't just magazine subscriptions anymore, it's attention, which translates directly into algorithmic monetization.
But I have to ask, isn't there something fundamentally different about the audience's role here? Think about the creator you watch every Sunday, or a 50-part series you binged yourself. Why are we so captivated by a stranger's worst nightmare?
It's a tricky question.
Is this empathy? Are we watching Teresa Johnson because we genuinely care about her healing, or are we just rubbernecking at a multi-car pileup on the digital highway?
It's a volatile combination of both, which is exactly what makes it so potent. On one hand, there's a deeply human evolutionary element of wanting to understand red flags. Women, in particular, watch these stories as a survival mechanism. They're taking mental notes on the warning signs of a pathological liar or an abuser. It feels like educational empathy.
Right, like I need to know his lies so I don't fall for them myself.
But the shadow side of that is the sheer voyeuristic thrill. There is an undeniable entertainment value in peering behind the curtain of someone else's absolute disaster, knowing you are completely safe in your own home.
It's consequence-free drama.
Exactly. It's the ultimate reality television because the stakes are real, even if the consumption of it is completely detached. And this raises a profound question about the consequences of this visibility because of what happened next. Because of this 400 million view success, Teresa Johnson is going Hollywood.
Yes. The sources note she just signed with a top Hollywood talent agency. We are talking about the same agencies that represent A-list movie stars and directors. She is parlaying a 50-part TikTok series about her disastrous marriage into a legitimate entertainment career.
Which completely upends the traditional concept of the American dream. It suggests a brand new paradigm. Enduring a horrific personal experience, being manipulated, systematically lied to, and traumatized can actually be your golden ticket.
That is so bleak.
Provided, of course, you have the charisma, the digital savvy, and the algorithmic understanding to narrate it well enough online.
It's incredible, but it's also deeply unsettling. Your pain is your pitch deck. If you can package your trauma correctly, you can bypass the entire Hollywood system. But Risa Tisa proved that raw, unedited trauma is incredibly lucrative. And whenever grassroots creators prove a concept is profitable, traditional media isn't far behind.
They never are.
They watch this ecosystem and say, we want to capture that energy, but we want to mass produce it.
Exactly. Which brings us to the industrialization of internet drama. When Hollywood executives look at the chaos of viral social media communities and decide to just build a factory around them. And there is no clearer example of this currently than Hulu's The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Oh, the show. Let's look at the origins here, drawing from the comprehensive reality TV wikis and biography.com sources we have. This entire empire started with Taylor Frankie Paul, often referred to online simply as TFP, and a group known as Mom Talk.
Mom Talk was a loosely affiliated group of Utah-based Mormon mom influencers. They originally went viral around 2020. Their content was largely dance trends, lip syncs, and showing off these incredibly curated, seemingly perfect, affluent lives.
The key word there being seemingly. Because in May 2022, Taylor Frankie Paul went on a TikTok live stream and dropped a nuclear bomb on her own community. She revealed that her impending divorce from her husband, Tate Paul, was due to a soft swinging scandal within their tight-knit Mom Talk friend group.
And for clarity, soft swinging in this context meant the couples were allegedly swapping partners, but with strict, agreed-upon rules about not going all the way without their spouses present.
Right.
Taylor admitted on this public live stream that she broke the rules. She had a brief affair with one of the husbands, effectively blowing up her marriage, his marriage, and the entire lucrative friend group all at once.
Now, 20 years ago, this would have been a devastating local scandal. It would be whispered about in the community, maybe a few families would move away, and that would be the end of it. But in the attention economy, a scandal of this magnitude within a highly visible online community isn't just gossip. It is highly valuable intellectual property.
Yes. Hulu swooped in. They saw the built-in audience, the inherent contradiction between the conservative Mormon aesthetic and the scandalous reality, and they packaged this raw, messy fallout into a highly produced reality series.
And it worked.
It did. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives became a total juggernaut. According to Hulu, it was their most watched unscripted season premiere of 2024. They just released their 4th season in March 2026, and they are already in production for a spinoff, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Orange County.
They franchised the trauma, but we have to look at the dark reality that underpins this shiny produced television. Because between the swinging scandal going viral in 2022 and the show actually premiering, things took a very serious, very dark turn for Taylor Frankie Paul.
Extremely serious. In February 2023, Taylor was arrested for domestic violence. According to the police reports and the body cam footage, she was in a drunken, volatile argument with her new boyfriend, Dakota Mortensen.
Oh, man.
During this altercation, she threw metal chairs and a heavy wooden playset. And in the chaos, she inadvertently hit and injured her own 5-year-old child. She eventually pleaded guilty to aggravated assault.
And here is where the industrialization aspect truly shows its teeth. How did Hulu react to their lead star being arrested for domestic violence and injuring a child? They didn't pause production to let a family heal. They didn't scrap the project out of ethical concerns. They used the actual police body cam footage of her arrest in the premiere episode of the show.
It is a profound ethical gray area that defines modern reality television. The producers are banking on the idea that authenticity, even the ugliest, most painful, legally consequential kind of authenticity, is what the audience ultimately demands.
But I'm sorry, I have to push back on the idea that this is just giving the audience what they want. This feels like we're watching a digital gladiator arena. Are we, the audience, and Hulu, the network, actively rewarding self-destructive criminal behavior with lucrative contracts?
That's the tension right there.
A child was injured. This isn't spilling a glass of wine on a real housewife in Beverly Hills. This is the criminal justice system and domestic violence, and we're packaging it as Season 1, Episode 1.
Your discomfort is exactly the point of tension the network is exploiting. It is a gladiator arena. The show cost Taylor a spot as the lead on ABC's The Bachelorette. Ironically, the Disney-owned ABC network felt she wasn't classy enough or presented too much of a PR risk for their dating show.
Wow, okay.
Yet Hulu, another major network, built an entire unscripted franchise around your exact situation. It proves that there is a massive market for unabashed, catastrophic reality.
And the official LDS Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, did not stay quiet about this. They released official statements strongly condemning the show. They called out the gross misrepresentations, the sensationalism, and explicitly stated that the show depicts lifestyles blatantly inconsistent with the teachings of the church.
Which brings us to the fascinating internal dynamic of the cast. The show explores this incredible tension between faith and fame. Taylor ultimately left the church, though she states she still believes in God. But throughout the 4 seasons, you see these women wrestling with the modern struggle between traditional religious expectations and the incredibly lucrative nature of internet notoriety.
Yeah, if you look at the season recaps, it is just a laundry list of interpersonal destruction.
Yep.
You've got Jen and her husband Zach constantly fighting over control, with him frequently threatening divorce if she doesn't comply with his demands.
Right, very toxic dynamics.
You have Whitney constantly storming out, manipulating the group chat, and isolating herself for screen time. You have Jesse having an affair with a guy named Marciano Brunette, who is from an entirely different reality show, Hulu's Vanderpump Villa. It's literally a collision of cinematic universes, but with real marriages.
What's truly fascinating here, structurally, is the paradox of the professional tradwife. Many of these influencers initially built their massive platforms promoting a very specific aesthetic, traditional, conservative, submissive homemaking. They sold the image of the joyfully subservient wife baking sourdough.
Right. Look at my perfect kitchen and my 6 kids.
Yet the reality is that because of their online presence, they're the primary breadwinners. They're orchestrating massive media empires, negotiating complex contracts with Hulu executives, managing PR crises, and driving the financial future of their entire families. They are performing submission for the camera while ruthlessly managing their brands behind the scenes.
Performing submission while ruthlessly managing their brands. That perfectly captures the contradiction. The illusion of the submissive tradwife is literally funding the Hollywood lifestyle. The husbands are relegated to supporting characters in their wives' media empires, which causes massive friction in a religious culture that dictates the man should be the head of the household.
Exactly. The producers make the shows, the influencers live, and often manufacture the drama. But this entire attention ecosystem requires one more crucial element to sustain itself. You have the event, you have the broadcast, but you need the echo chamber.
If an influencer's marriage falls apart in the forest and no one makes a reaction video about it, did it even happen?
Precisely. You need the commentators. The entire machine grinds to a halt without the meta layer of discourse.
Which brings us to the final gear in this machine, the meta layer of commentary. The podcasts, the YouTube reaction channels, the Reddit sleuths. We are looking specifically at the Do We Know Them podcast to understand this dynamic.
Do We Know Them is hosted by Jesse Smiles and Lily Marston. Their podcast is entirely dedicated to covering internet drama. They are the commentators. They dissect everything from the Ned Fulmer Try Guys cheating scandal to Alex Earl's influencer feuds to Uber driver drama, and of course they heavily cover the mom talk influencers we just discussed.
They are the Greek chorus of the internet. They sit on the sidelines and tell the audience how to feel about the tragedy happening on stage. But here is the wild part. The ultimate inevitable meta-drama. The hosts of the drama podcast became the drama.
It was structurally inevitable. When you make a living critiquing the lives and mistakes of others, your audience learns to critique you with the exact same level of microscopic scrutiny. You train your audience to be attack dogs, and eventually they look at who is holding the leash.
We pulled the Apple Podcast reviews and the deep dive Reddit threads about their show, and wow, the listeners ruthlessly dissect Jesse and Lily. They complain that the podcast's researcher does a terrible job and misses basic verifiable facts.
Which is ironic for a drama channel.
Very. But more than that, they attack the hosts personally. Reviewers explicitly call them out for complaining about how hard their privileged lives are just because they have to sit in a room and film a podcast for a few hours a week.
The audience also turns a magnifying glass on their private lives and political affiliations. Reviewers pointed out what they saw as hypocritical political stances. They noted that Jessie frequently claims to hate certain political movements on the show, yet internet sleuths found that her husband was actively liking RFK Jr. posts, following controversial figures like Andrew Tate, and that her mother is openly supportive of the MAGA movement.
And again, as a quick reminder to everyone listening, we are strictly neutral on those political figures here. The point here isn't whether liking an RFK Jr. post or following Andrew Tate is right or wrong.
Right. That's not the focus.
The point is the mechanism of the internet. The audience tracked down a podcast host's husband's Instagram, likes to weaponize them against her because she critiques TikTokers for a living. It's an Ouroboros. The snake is eating its own tail.
It perfectly illustrates the parasocial contract. These influencers and commentators build immense wealth by inviting the audience into their private lives. They look into the camera and foster an illusion of deep friendship. They use phrases like, "we are besties," or "welcome to our digital family." But it is fundamentally a transactional relationship.
It's intimacy as a commodity. But wait, let me play devil's advocate here. If I buy a ticket to a movie, I expect the movie to play. If someone turns their life into a product, if they monetize their personality and their relationships, isn't the audience somewhat justified in expecting product consistency? If you sell me access to your life, don't I get to complain if I don't like what you're doing?
That is exactly the justification the audience uses. And when the creator tries to change the terms of that transaction, things get incredibly ugly. Which brings us to the Tiffany Jenkins case, which perfectly encapsulates this friction.
Tiffany Jenkins is known online as Juggling the Jenkins. She built a massive, dedicated following by sharing her incredibly raw, vulnerable journey through opiate addiction and her ongoing path to maintaining sobriety. She monetized her deepest, darkest struggles and built a community around mutual support.
But then, according to the r/TikTok gossip subreddit, she hit a rough patch in her marriage. She posted a vague video stating she was going through severe personal issues, but she explicitly said she wouldn't exploit it for clicks or monetize this particular crisis. She asked for privacy.
And the audience absolutely revolted. They completely turned on her. The Reddit thread is full of people saying things like, if you wanted privacy, you shouldn't have posted at all, or you can't monetize the darkest parts of your life for years and then suddenly close the door when things get messy. We have to laugh darkly at the absolute absurdity of the privacy announcement paradox.
It is deeply ironic. Creating a piece of content, broadcasting it to millions of people, for the express purpose of demanding they not look at you. But from the audience's perspective, they invested their time, their likes, and their emotional energy into her story. They feel like shareholders in her life.
Think about the creator you watch every Sunday. The person whose vlogs you watch while you drink your coffee, or whose podcast you listen to on your commute. If they stopped posting tomorrow, just disappeared without a word, would you just hope they're okay, or would you feel slightly cheated? Would you feel owed an explanation? We've all felt that twinge of annoyance when our favorite content stops flowing.
That entitlement is the crux of the parasocial shift. The audience feels a profound sense of ownership. It is exactly like an audience refusing to leave a theater after the curtain drops, demanding the actors come out in their street clothes and continue to entertain them in the parking lot.
So what happens to the psychological well-being of the creators who suddenly realize this, who wake up and realize their millions of friends don't view them as human beings, but as literal content dispensers? It's like they're a vending machine. The audience puts in a like and expects a trauma story to pop out.
It creates a highly toxic, inescapable feedback loop. The algorithm and the audience demand drama. The creator, seeking validation and desperately needing to maintain their income, provides the drama. Sometimes they manufacture it, sometimes they exploit their own genuine pain. The audience consumes it, but then criticizes the creator for being messy, dramatic, or a bad person. The creator internalizes that massive wave of criticism their mental health suffers, which creates more real-life drama, which they then feel compelled to post. It is a machine that runs entirely on human vulnerability.
Okay, let's try to pull all these threads together. We've covered a massive amount of ground today. What is the grand takeaway from all of this?
If we synthesize the mechanics of everything we've looked at today, a very clear, unsettling picture emerges. Whether the internet is projecting political fan fiction onto a real-life assassination like Charlie Kirk's,
Or an individual is utilizing the TikTok algorithm to film a 50-part series about their own toxic marriage like Risa Tisa.
or you are starring in a Hulu show monetizing your religious community's marital scandals, or you're a podcast listener fighting in a Reddit comment section about a host's husband's Instagram likes.
The underlying truth is exactly the same. The internet has turned human existence into a 24/7 content mill. Reality is no longer something to simply be experienced. It is raw material to be mined, processed, packaged, and consumed.
And we have to look in the mirror here. The machine only works because we feed it.
We are all complicit. Every click, every view, every deep dive into a Reddit thread, even listening to this deep dive right now is a gear turning in the attention economy. We are analyzing the spectacle, but we are still consuming it. We are the demand that creates the supply.
Which leaves us with a final, chilling concept to consider. Something that goes beyond the influencers, the reality TV stars, and the true crime fan fiction.
What's the next evolution of this?
As artificial intelligence and deepfakes become completely indistinguishable from reality over the next few years, we have to ask ourselves, will we reach a psychological tipping point? Will we eventually prefer the manufactured, completely AI-generated scandals over real human drama?
Wait, really? Why would we prefer the fake stuff if the whole draw is the voyeurism of real life?
Because it is less morally taxing to consume. Think about the heavy cost of everything we discussed today. If you know the person crying on screen isn't real, if you know the domestic violence wasn't actual violence involving a real child, if the political assassination never happened, you can consume the drama completely guilt-free. You can enjoy the 50-part soap opera without feeling like a voyeur to actual human suffering. As the parasocial contract becomes too toxic for real humans to endure, will the ultimate reality TV show feature no real humans at all?
That is terrifying. It's like we are demanding so much blood from the gladiators that we eventually have to replace them with robots just so we can keep watching the carnage without feeling bad about ourselves.
Exactly. The ultimate ethical bypass.
We've built a digital world where the line between reality and entertainment is completely gone, and we are addicted to swimming in those murky waters. Soon, we might just ask a computer to generate the drama for us just so we don't have to look at the real damage we're causing. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the reality of the media you consume, and we will see you next time.